Hello there, men, and welcome to the Masculinism Movement channel, a place for men to be men and talk about masculinity and men's issues. I'm your host, Brian Krall, and today we are going to be continuing our deep dive into the topic of the Sacred Masculine Archetype in this part 4 of our series, and this one will be on the Animus. So we're going to be moving on from religion to talk about something that is a bit more spiritual than religious, but also psychological as well, as this is what is called a character archetype or a subconscious symbol. So this comes from Carl Jung's Enema and Animus theory. This is a theory that is like the yin and yang theory, but for psychology. It states that men and women have both a masculine and feminine side. The enema is the feminine side that all men have within them, also known as the soul, spirit, breath, or vital force. It is like the yin part of the yang in the center, or how Shiva has a bit of feminine Shakti energy within him. This theory implies that in order to be healthy and secure in your masculinity, that you need to find that inner balance and have healthy masculinity, rather than going to extremes of machismo where you're trying to deny anything feminine about yourself, right? But giving yourself permission to have feelings and other such traits that some people might call feminine. There's also the Animus, which is the sacred masculine side, like the yang archetype, which women need to be in touch with in order to be balanced and healthy in their femininity. The Animus represents things such as the rational soul, life, mind, mental powers, courage, and desire. And if women seek to cut themselves off from their masculine side, they will become imbalanced, and that is bad for them, both spiritually and emotionally and in other ways mentally, just like how a macho man who tries to cut himself off from any perceived feminine traits will only be making himself unhealthy mentally. So this is why women who call themselves goddesses and talk about the sacred feminine, but are also feminist man-haters, who are basically just cutting themselves off from their own masculine polarity and energy, are not actually spiritually enlightened beings with inner peace and balance. They're really just a bunch of narcissists. You cannot have the sacred feminine without the sacred masculine. That's why feminists who succeed in business and politics and other such things usually do so by channeling their masculine energies to empower themselves by becoming more masculine than most other women. So you see here we have another philosophy about the sacred masculine that coincides with the philosophies of yin and yang and Shiva and Shakti, despite being put forth in another time and place in the world. We see these things are archetypal, these principles, concepts. These are universal truths. If you're enjoying listening to what I have to say, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you feel I'm adding value to your life, you can also tip me at the PayPal link below in proportion to the amount of value added. Your support will help me be able to continue this work because the oppressive fascists at YouTube are against this kind of content and actively trying to suppress it. So it is only with the help of viewers like you that I'll be able to keep fighting the good fight against the evil fucking matriarchy. These are theories that get put out by world thought leaders, around the world at different times throughout history and different culture, right? But that we all share these same truths and principles. This one was put out by a psychologist who liked to dabble in metaphysics and parapsychology and the psychology of spirituality and other things. And he had this whole system of spiritual / psychological personality archetypes or character types that played on subconscious symbology and spiritual mythos and different aspects of psychology and spirituality. He was a great male mind who contributed greatly to how mankind experiences itself and explains the human condition to itself. All right, this is a man who has become a household name for making very invaluable contributions to society and the field of education and psychology, how we understand ourselves and human consciousness. And he's someone who obviously believed in the sacred masculine archetype and who was an expert not just on psychology and human nature, but the topic of symbology and archetypes and spirituality as well. In fact, he wrote a definitive book on these topics that I highly recommend, called Man and His Symbols. So if you are interested in the ideas of, archetypes and symbology and the study of these things, from a psychological perspective, from the psychologist Carl Jung, who is the, greatest authority on these things, then check this book out. Man and His Symbols will teach you basically everything you need to know. As I said, Carl Jung pioneered this system, or this sort of ideology of character archetypes, such as the Sacred Mother or Mother Earth archetype for women, or the hero or the fool for men. Right? I'm sure you've heard of these character types before. One thing I've always noticed about these is that when it comes to mother figures, and how often we hear about the Mother Earth, for instance. That's a very common phrase. And other sort of sacred mother or earth mother or mother figure language. It made me realize that it seems to me, at least in my experience, that there is simply less talk about the father figure archetype, even though it's a very important one, right? There's a great need for father figures in children's lives, for there to be a sacred masculine archetype in society, as this sort of guiding role model. There's a great need in society for strong, positive male role models, even though there seems to be not very much emphasis on them. And in fact, there is even a little bit of pushback from feminism, where the whole role of men in society is sort of getting suppressed and stifled by them, right? Children are obviously being taken away from their fathers. On TV and the media, there's less of these sort of positive male role models and strong male figures. The TV dad is sort of this negative stereotype of a bumbling idiot. He's basically in Jungian archetypes the fool, right, when he should be the hero. And that's something that has really changed as our modern mythology has changed. The mythology used to be centered around the hero figure. In ancient times, we would gather around the fire at night to hear stories about heroes. Right now, we gather around the TV to watch stories of the fool. So the masculine role model figure has changed from a strong, heroic one to a weak and stupid one. So there seems to be some negative propaganda about men that is going against this figure of the hero and the strong male role model that we need in society, and the father figure archetype. So I would like to move on and talk more about the father figure, which is what I'm going to be talking about in the next video. That concludes this video. Thanks for listening. I hope I mansplained that good enough for you. If you like what you heard, please click the like button. And if you feel you gained some value from this video and would like to give some back, please do so with the PayPal link below, because your support helps fund me doing this work and fight the good fight for men like you. If you are ready to take the red pill and wake up from the matrix, well then, I have the perfect book for you. The Bible of Esoteric Knowledge is a super concise, dense, info-packed philosophy textbook, written in the same verse format as the Bible, but combining multiple different, highly esoteric philosophies such as Taoism, Hinduism, Buddhism, shamanism, ancient paganism, and a special balance between theoretical physics and metaphysics, along with some special bonus info on the cryptic secrets of sexuality and death. This book will stimulate your intellectual philosopher's mind like no other, especially since it's a lot shorter and easier to read than most philosophy books made up entirely of run-on sentences and never-ending paragraphs, and can be quite boring and exhaustive. Full of all the most fascinating mystical secrets of the universe, gratify your inner geek and quench your thirst for meaning with the Bible of Esoteric Knowledge. Get your copy at the link below for a special sale price today.